Today we're going to be talking about a skill that golfers just do not practice. This golf lesson is going to help you become a better golfer by making sure you're practicing the right thing. And today we're going to be talking about striking the ball better. We're going to do this with your irons to start. I'll do another video with driver. Let's say this one is about improving your strikes with your irons. Remember, if you're liking the tips in this video, I've got a free weekly newsletter, exclusive content, subscribe down below. So I'm going to be using the Divver Board here to show you, as well as my GC quad, to show you how I would practice this. If you're interested in buying this, I do have a discount code for this device coming up here. I'm also going to show you how to do what we're talking about today without the Divver Board as well, if you don't want to make the purchase, obviously. So what we're going to do is we're going to practice some skills that often I think golfers forget they're allowed to practice. Let's establish that people understand that if you practice your putting, you might get better at it. They go to the putting green or buy something for at home. People often understand if they go for a golf lesson and change the way they swing, practice the way they swing and move, that they might hit the ball straighter and strike it better and be better golfers. And these things are all true, but actually practicing where you hit the ball in the face is as much as a skill that you can practice the same way you might go and practice your putting. So first game, number one, to start improving your strike, I'm going to hit a shot here from the Divver Board. Just one of my standard shots, boom, caught it a little heavy and I've pulled it a little left and I've struck the ball, so hitting the ball at you. You can see I'm a little bit out the toe from the Divver Board, which I'll show you on the machine as well, and a little bit heavy, which I felt. And what this does is obviously it's going to give you that instant feedback straight away, which you can just use for getting the idea of where you're hitting the ground and training different positions. It's a slightly high toe. I'm using an iron, not a wood. I will change that in a second. High on the face suggests I was either massively de-lofting or I got into that board first and the ball rolled up the face, which it did. And off the toe because I'm not warmed up is what I feel like yet, but I want to practice that skill. Is it that, or do I need to practice my strike? So game number one is how quick and good are you at dynamically moving strike on purpose. So I'm now going to hit another one, high off the toe. I'm going to try and hit it lower and a bit more towards the heel and to the middle. So I'm going to try and move away from the toe, move it down the face a little bit, which that felt much better. You can see I'm getting ball then turf and see how much more in line with the ball it was, making for a lower face hit and a little bit more towards the heel. So now I'm going to try and move the strike over towards the toe right out here. And with each move, with each different strike, I'm going to try and feel what I am doing to promote those different hits, because here's the rub. This is why you have to practice this. I'll get comments and people will say, yeah, but how did you move that? Well, I can tell you how I moved it, what I thought and felt I did. But often when I measure with all my very expensive equipment in here, you can't really see a measured difference, because we're talking millimeters in difference. We're talking real fine tuning and practicing. And with all these different strikes, another point just to remember with the game is that I'm starting in the same position. So I'm going to hit one right off the toe. I'm not starting right out of the toe. I'm starting in the middle, so I'm going to feel like I make my normal swing, but as I come down, I'm going to feel like I'm still swinging straight, but I'm slightly this side, so my hands have come more my side, but straight to hit that ball. Right out the toe. That was off the toe. Nice and straight. I can see it's off the toe before I show you my expensive launch monitor data. So this hitting towards you can see it's coming this way. And pretty much ball first, a little bit of ground first, but I don't mind that kind of leeway on strike. And there it was, straight off the toe. So we're going to do one more. I'm going to move it right into the heel. This is my hardest one because this one doesn't come natural to me. I'm not even sure I want to get used to hitting it out of this bit. So same feeling as the toe hit, just the other side. This time I'm going to feel like I'm still getting straight, so I'm not going to feel like I'm butchering club path to hit toes and heels, which is one thing you find people try to do at the start. So if you are one of those, you don't want to be massively changing path to try and influence strike. You want to sustain whatever path you swing. So if you're straight or in to out or out to in, sustain that path, but just move those strikes a few millimeters either side. So same setup. This time I'm going to go from the horrible, this one's hard, from the heel. Ooh, middle to heel. Well, that's in the heel. You can see I'm more there as then I return into the left. plenty of ball first, a bit lower on the strike, not as far, much better getting out towards the toe, but that's as far in the heel as I want to really get. But you can see my skill was being able to be dynamic with my movement. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important because the more I feel every side of any story, the more I hear every side of an argument, the more informed I can be at my decision of what is maybe right or wrong. So the more I can hit from the toe on purpose, from the heel on purpose, at the bottom, near the top on purpose, then the more I can find the middle. I know where that is. I know where the other side is, and I don't want to do those movements, so I'm going to do movements in between. And this, again, is the huge skill that I do not see enough amateurs practicing. I see them practicing trying to do perfect. With all learning skill ideas, the more you do the other sides of perfect as well as wherever this perfect is, I think the more rounded you'll be as a golfer and as someone learning this game. Remember, link and code for Divver Board down below. So Divver Board allows you to do this without a ball and at home in your garden. You can just move either side, create the divots either side of that dot and then into the middle as well, obviously, and before and after. So the Divver Board will allow you to do this, so you don't need the launch monitor and you don't need to be even hitting shots. You could be practicing this skill in your garden. But if you don't want either of these, I understand why you might not want the launch monitor. If you just get some tape, this is fitting tape, you can get this from lots of websites, it's really cheap. I actually don't use this for fittings because I think it's ridiculous, but what it is quite good for using when you go to the range to play this game is it's going to leave marks. And the same game applies. Hit one, just hit one. Where do you hit it is the question on one shot. So that one I called it slightly low, slightly heel-sided. So you can see it leaves a nice indicator. I'm now going to move it out to this side, to the toe. I'm just going to move away from that. Interesting what happens as well, which I want you to watch. The toe shots, which I got there, definitely start straight and more out to the right. The heel shots are a little bit more pulled, so you can see the toe on the second one, which again, whenever you do any of these tests, you should be looking and really watching the outcome, not only feeling the outcomes that you feel. Oh, I felt like I got up through my lead side for that better strike. I felt like I kind of stood taller, or I got taller, or I stayed down, or I turned more. Whatever you feel to move that strike around, you need to be latching onto that. And if you start seeing some different shots, shapes, ones that you prefer, then you're going to find some answers. You're going to self-discover some answers that might help you improve your golf dynamically by practicing skills. So the tape there you can see is a good alternative if you don't want to buy any of the expensive items. Remember, the real win with that first game is what I like to do with students is I'm really interested in how quickly they can change. 1 shot, 5 shots, 2 shots. How quick does it take for them to find just a different place on the face to wherever the original one hit? Because it helps me as a coach understand how we can develop them. It helps me show what skill sets they have or don't. So remember, that game is how quickly I was able there to do it within 1 shot, which for me is exactly where I'd want my game to be. I'm not going to hit good shots every time. I'm going to hit some fins, some fat, some toes, some heels. I might even get into some patterns where I hit my first 2 approach shots a little bit thin. And from this training, I'm going to have a skill of how not to catch it so low on the face. I'm going to have a feeling that I'll start employing, one that I've practiced. Because remember, we wake up each day and we don't always feel exactly the same. As so many of us who play golf understand, it's not always just a nice easy ride, is it, in golf? Now, second game I want you to play to try and understand a little bit more of what we call low points. So are you hitting the ground first, ball first, ground second, a mixture of all? Where is the lowest point of your swing and which part do you connect with first? So this is a really good game, and this is where the Divver Board comes into its own. If you haven't got the Divver Board with this, I'll show you an alternative of how to do it. It's not as good, but it'll help you understand what we're talking about here. So I'm going to hit a shot now where I turn the face 20 degrees to the left, so what we'll call close. So if I took it to this parallel, you can see it's pointing right down at the ground. At dress, I'm gripping a face here, which is basically shut. This being somewhere near straight, it's 20 degrees close. What we're going to learn from this game is if the game is for me now to hit the ball straight, so I can't just deliver this face, I have to dynamically try and get this face somewhere back to straight to get it going. We can go a little bit left of that line, but I don't want to go a long way left of that line. So you can see I've hit a nice straightish shot. It's like a yard, half a yard left of that white line. But look what happens to my strike. Look how forward, hitting the ball this way, so hitting this way, look how forward of the ball my strike was there. 25 degrees closed, grip the club closed. Game is you're not allowed to hit it left, so basically I'm trying to drive handle forwards and up a little bit. Oh, a little bit further left, but considering how close that face is, I'll take that. And again, look how forward of the ball, hitting this way, my strike is. So I'm now going to do the same idea, but this time I'm going to turn the face 25 degrees open. So I'm gripping an open face. So at this first parallel, you can see the face is much more up to the sky. Down at the ball here, it's literally pointing up into that corner. Neutral grip, but gripping the open face. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and hit this ball the same. So I'm not allowed to go now miles right of that line. Pretty straight shot considering where the face started. What happens to my strike now? Again, hitting this way. Look how far behind I'm hitting the ball there. Fat ball. Any of these tests, try and repeat. The skill is repeat. So even with the first test, if you're able to dynamically move it, do one set of that, moving it around, stop, hit your practice shots, then come back and do it again. Can you repeat it? And it's the same with this. I'm hitting behind the ball and in front of the ball, but does it repeat? So I'm going to do it again. Like, is this just an outlier, or is that the pattern if I do it over and over again? So again, gripping the open face, not allowed to go right. Oh, no, I didn't get hold of that one, but it's not bad considering. It is right, but not as bad as obviously the face indicates. And again, I think you can see where this is going. The pattern of how I control that face is dictating my low point if I fat it or catch the ball first. And this is so interesting for so many golfers, where this obviously again helps me practice it at home. I'll give you an idea if you haven't got this as well in a second. But the moral of this, where for so many golfers controlling strikes, so fats and fins, ball then turf strikes, is about moving this way or this way. So 2D, kind of 2D lateral movements, need to get across more because I fat it, those kind of ideas. Or even they think maybe from this plane it's because I'm too low or too high, which is why they fat it and fin it, which those are elements of it. But for lots of golfers, one of the main reasons you can't strike your irons is because you don't control the face. So what happens when I have the face way open to my path, which I know is going to be straight, so I grip it way open, is to hit the ball. I'm trying to get back to get the club forwards to not go right. Hit target. Promoting the ground first hit. Where when I have the face way closed to not go left, I'm trying to drive the handle forwards. So basically the loft, the orientation of the face open or closed, you know, your first parallels, is it here or here at the top here? Are you cupping wrist or flattening wrist or bowing wrist, whatever you want to call it, face to the sky, face down, is definitely relating, and it does for so many of you, how I hit that ball on the ground. If I do contact the ground in the right place, it's influencing my low points. For any of you who are struggling with fats, you need to be doing way more of the 25-degree warm-up drills to try and get the feeling of the different handle delivery, the different kind of body deliveries that you'll have to get in. And if you're someone who's always kind of hooking and catching it a bit thin, you might want to go for the more neutral face, the slightly open, and get that feeling. They're rare. It's much more people open face, delivering more loft, fatting. And if you haven't got the Divver Board or the launch monitor, take a ball, get a tee, just quite a small tee here, don't get a cast, so I've just got a pink plastic tee. And it's the same idea here. If I put this tee, let's say a size 7 shoe, I'm a 9, so a bit more, a little bit closer than my shoe, and I go and make that face 25 degrees closed, not allowed to go left. I'm nowhere near hitting that tee. See how that pushed out to the right, and that was with the really closed face. Then gripping the 25-degree open face. So this one now, oh, I just nicked the tee. Literally took the paint off the tee there. So you can play with the distance of the tee to make it work for your delivery. Maybe a size 5 rather than a size 7. So let's say 2 club head width length, subject to the length of your club head. But again, it's not fixed in stone, you can play with that. And that'll give you that indicator of ball then turf or fats and fin kind of strikes. How you strike the ball is so dictated by where the face is. Practicing strike is a total skill, one that you can actually practice at home with things like this, and you can do the tee drill as well. And it's something you should be doing every day. You should be practicing your strike every time you practice. It should be worked in as part of your practice, like I hope a warm-up is worked in as part of your practice. As I hope before you go and play, you might hit a few drivers, irons, wedges, and then some putts maybe, or a version of some of those. If you have a routine, you should be working the strike 5 minutes of each practice into it. It's a skill, you can get better at it. And one of the defining factors between amateurs and pros is pros strike the ball better. You need to do it and you can practice it. If you want to learn how to practice it even more and improve that strike with your irons, this video is really helping a lot of golfers.